You are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? We are now learning that there are some secret documents that have not been unsealed to the public that may be released very, very soon. And those documents also could include pictures from inside the actual crime scene, okay, depicting the victims, etc. And I'm going to be honest, I'm saying it right now. Please don't unseal those photos. I know some people have, a dark curiosity in regards to this whole situation with the Idaho 4 and what actually happened and where everybody was found and how the crime scenes really did look. But honestly, let's be real. I'm going to say it first off right here on the show before the end of this video, before we look at anything else. Please, let's not see that. Keep those things sealed, please, and thank you. All right, let's take a look at this. This is very interesting, okay? So secret documents in the Bryan Kohberger case, which, by the way, secret documents. So in other words, it's like what? You got to, press A, B, B, A, B, B, A, B just to get into this stuff. What is this? Where are these secret documents coming from, right? And why aren't they just out here? Why are they called secret, right? So this also includes pics of the Idaho victims, all right, could be made public. Now, let me just say this really quick. The victims' photos, okay, pics of the actual victims, it could mean a various amount of different things. It could be pictures of the crime scene. It could just be pictures of the actual victims, right, of the Idaho 4. Maybe there's photos that he had that were saved on his phone, right, of just photos of maybe Maddie, Kaylee, or Xana. God only knows. Maybe Xana and Ethan. You never know, right? But nonetheless, regardless, a lot of people are very concerned about the fact that it could actually be the crime scene photos being leaked or released to the public. So again, like I said, keep it sealed. So a new trove of secret documents in the Bryan Kohberger murder case could be made public in the coming months, including never-before-seen photographs of the victims, which clearly to me seems like they're talking about crime scene photos. The conclusion of this whole case with Bryan Kohberger, I call him Coco. Okay, he's been given 4 life sentences. The dude's going to be there for the rest of his natural life. And I say, may he be buried under the doggone prison for the disgusting, vile things that he has done, okay? But Judge Steven Hippler said Monday that he was opening up a lengthy unsealing process, starting with a first batch of 43 items. Now, we don't know if the first batch of 43 items also includes photos of the victims or photos of this crime scene. We don't know about all that. But nonetheless, they are looking at a bunch of things, and eventually he's going to get to those files where there's photos of the crime scene. Now, here, let me say this too. Let me correct myself. When I say, don't show the photos, I'm saying of the victims. Maybe you can show other things that were found in the space. Maybe you can show the room. Maybe you could, maybe not the rooms so much, but the things surrounding it, right? The items that were found, clues that were left behind, so on and so forth. Maybe you can release those things. But as far as like the actual crime scenes themselves, I don't know, y'all. You let me know. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are, okay? But he is giving prosecutors and Kohberger's lawyers 2 weeks to advocate whether the records should be revealed or remain hidden from the public. I say, we already know how gruesome this stuff is. Keep it locked up. Just that. Everything else, show it. That's what I think. The records includes photographs of each of the deceased victims and photographs of the 6 victims together. So again, these are photos of them separated, of them gone, but then also photos of them together, which of course I'm thinking like social media posts, Instagram posts, Snapchats, etc. So again, like I said, I think that there's just some very, very gruesome photos that I don't think that the families of the victims would want to relive, right? But of course, Steven Gonzalez went on to the News Nation. He had some things he had to say about this whole situation. So let's take a look at this. You know, this is just a snippet of this actual interview.
So while it doesn't look like the crime scene photos are in this current batch of documents, do you plan to fight their release if and when that time comes?
Yeah, I believe all the families have let that be known to the prosecuting team that that's not anything that we were interested in. And we've been worried that we would see those leaked at any time when you had like certain stories and certain things been leaked since the very beginning. We were afraid that we'd wake up one morning and that may be on, might be on TV.
Yeah, Steve, I know there are people out there who want full transparency. They want to get every single aspect of this case. I do not see the value of that. I think that this is painful, it's gratuitous, it's disgusting. But for the people out there who want full transparency about this and say, I don't even know what the argument would be to see that. What would your response to them be?
You don't get that. Those are our children, and we're not settling for that type of thing. And I think it encourages. I mean, you got a whole show here with some people that are doing some terrible things to people, and that's one thing that I think we show a little bit too much of. And I hope that we can give these kids some dignity, and we don't have to go there.
You know what I think is very interesting about this situation, and I agree with what Steven Gonzalez is saying here, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez. I agree with what he's saying here, but I do find it very interesting that, yeah, they were fighting for full transparency, full truth, etc. I mean, he's been on countless shows. He's been on News Nation countless times, basically saying, like, we need transparency. We need proof. But the fact that they're like, whoa, we want proof, but no, don't give us that. We will take everything else except that, says a lot. It speaks volumes. And again, like I said, the families don't want to relive the trauma all over again. Let's be real. That's a terrifying, it's a terrifying thought. Like what he just said is terrifying. The thought of waking up one day and the crime scene photos just being all over CNN, for example, right? All over the news is not something that people really want to see. And I'm going to be real. As soon, if those photos are to be released, you know for a fact, every single news outlet is going to have it all over the news because obviously if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Is there anything else in the current batch of documents that you plan to fight the release of?
No, they asked us about the toxicology report after we got that. We said we didn't care. The autopsies, some mothers wanted to keep that, and I understand that. That has it has like a injury by injury write-ups, so it's pretty gruesome. So those are the ones that we were. I think that'll be the last one that we really will try to keep close to the chest.
And it's good to know that, as you said, that the families seem to be on the same page with this. I mean, there is this argument, right, out there, putting aside crime scene photos. The public wants to know as much as possible about why these children were killed. And the question becomes, do you think the public has a right to know all the details of the case? Again, putting aside the crime scene photos, do you think the public has a right to know all of this?
I think the public should demand that 100%. Sometimes the courtroom doesn't realize that there is no courtroom without victims, and they need to represent them people and the community. The community has the right to know that they're arresting the right people, and the punishment is correct. And I think that
agreed.
The prosecution here purposely hid the facts of what happened to these kids to try to get all the parents to be in silos and not unite and force them to do the right thing, force them to have, a capital case. They never had that. That's why they didn't tell the kids what really happened to our kids. They hid that from us because they knew that could be a riling cry for all the parents to get on the same page.
And I want to talk about that in a minute, and as well as Bill Thompson and current statements he's making. But, Steve, when I look at you, I interview victims' family members all the time. And you think about what they have to go through when the crime first happens, what they have to go through when there is a trial, what they have to go through the grieving process for the rest of their lives. But you're in this unique, unfortunately unique position where this case has been amplified. And I wonder for you, how difficult is it knowing that you are going to have to deal with these document releases for months that the story doesn't end with Kohberger getting shipped away, that now it's about the release of information and trying to protect your daughter and the other victims. How difficult is it?
We have to do it better. They could have easily done better than this. This trickle effect of, I mean, the case is over. Let it out. Stand by what your decisions are, and the information come out. I know you have to give a little bit of time for sealing, but it's called control, find, replace. We do it at work all the time. It's not a big deal. We can replace. We can get through these docs real easy. So yeah. I think they got to do a better job. And this trickle thing's been going on the whole time. And it was torture. It was absolute torture for the families. And they kind of wore us all down. And that's kind of the strategy that, we knew that the defense was going to do, was to try to push this out, try to make it as far away from our homes, try to make it as inconvenient as possible. And, they had success for that. And in the end, they were rewarded.
Thank you.
Now, you know what I think is very interesting, what Steven Gonzalez is saying here, I 110% agree with him. It's like, hey, they were holding a lot of information from the families. All the families wanted to know is what actually happened, get that full transparency. And then it's finally when he is getting locked up, he is found, he pleads guilty. He admits to doing what he did. He gets locked up. He's sentenced to 4 life sentences. They do this trickle type of approach to unsealing slowly but surely all of the documents. I agree with him. It's kind of like rip the Band-Aid off, make the decision not to release the crime scene photos of the victims out of respect to the 4 families that are all grieving still, and they will continue grieving for the rest of their lives, okay? But get it all out there so that there isn't like this long process, a year-long process, it seems like, of people talking about this over and over and over again. I think the Gonzalez family is ready to move on. They want to grieve. They want to say goodbye to their daughter in their own way, just like the other families want to say goodbye to their loved ones as well in their own way, and be able to continue to find a way to move on in life, not constantly be reminded of the things of this crime, of this gruesome crime that actually happened, that terrorized and destroyed their lives. Let's be real. And so I get him being like, yo, like rip the Band-Aid off, like just get it all out there and be done. Seal the victims' photos, please and thank you, but get everything out. It doesn't have to be this long, arduous approach, because you realize that there's going to be podcast after podcast after podcast, News Nation, other places, other media outlets that are going to be reaching out to them every single time there's like one little nuanced movement that happens in regards to this case. This case is now closed, right? So it's time for them to be able to go in that process, that next chapter in their lives. Each family's lives is the chapter of healing. It's the grieving and the healing and being able to cherish the moments that they had with their loved one and be able to move on, right? Heal in the best way possible, not constantly being dragged back into the case over and over and over again. They got the culprit, right? The bad guy, the boogeyman has been locked up. Coco is gone for life, right? So let's let the families do what they need to do, what they see best in saying goodbye to their loved ones and moving on. But I do agree with him. I absolutely, definitely 110% agree with him. Just rip the Band-Aid off. Get all the documents out there. Why is there a slow approach to this? Just get it all out there. Seal the crime scene photos out of respect to the families and just keep it moving. That's just what I think. But anyway, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I know some people have a morbid sense of curiosity that just want to know what happened here, just want to see everything in all of its gruesome details. I say that stuff, as far as the crime scenes depicting the deceased victims, you can hold on to that respectfully. Just saying. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. We'll talk here soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
PASC You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.